Welcome to sewing class. I'm Annette Julie, and today we're working on sewing notebook 1, and we're working on step number 2, fabric Grainline sample. So here I have the project. It's complete. We have the 7 by 7 inch ripped muslin square. We have pressed it, we have blocked it, we have marked it with an arrow on the grain line. This is our warp length grain, and this is our cross grain or weft grain. So now we're going to go ahead and duplicate that over here. And what we're going to do with the fabric Grainline sample is we're actually going to take a number 7 needle and we're going to pull the grain on the lengthwise and the crosswise grain, the full length of that swatch. And this is to really cement what grain is for you as a student. It is one of the most important things that we need to observe for cutting, sewing, and pattern making. So this is an exercise that they do at all schools. So right now I have my swatch here, and I have an arrow showing the lengthwise grain. So I can already go ahead and start labeling this. There's my arrow. This is going to be my warp grain. It's also known as my length grain. That's the full length of the fabric. Now here we have the width, and we can go ahead and draw arrows for that, going both directions. And here we have what's called our weft grain. And it's also known as our cross grain. Okay, also go ahead and write your name on your swatch, on all swatches. And that's the start of how you want to label everything for turning in. Now we're going to go ahead and take one of those size 7 needles, not a pin, but a needle. And quite often I like to use a needle that has thread in there. I always leave some black thread in if I'm using black thread for a sewing demo. And then it's real easy for me to find this needle again if I drop it somewhere. Lose it on a piece of fabric or the floor or the folds of something. But this thread helps me to find it. So now that I've done the labeling of my fabric swatch, I can go in right in the middle and catch a grain, just one grain, and pull the grain out the full length, then catch another grain and pull it out the full width. So once we catch one grain, we want to put it between our fingers and we just want to ease it really gently because they'll definitely like to break, and it takes a lot of patience to be able to pull that one grain of thread out. When you lose it, you can go ahead and grab a tweezer and pull it, or just catch another grain right next to it. So I have the grain on the lengthwise. I'm working the excess fabric down as I pull the grain. It's going to make like a little channel, and this is going to take some time. You can see I've pulled that up almost about 1/4 of an inch. You have to have patience when you're doing this. It's nice to have a nice little bright light. It's also good to do it up against a bright window with light coming in too. So we can see the channel that we've created. And like I said, you want to have patience when you're doing this because the grain, the threads in the muslin fabric quite often break and you have to start over or catch that thread. We're lucky it's gone this far so much. It's got a good bit of the thread out now. This looks good. So I'm going to keep on pulling ever so gently. And once I've pulled that thread completely out, that's when I'm going to work on the cross or weft. Now we're starting right now is on the length grain. So this is the length or the warp. This is the longest threads in the whole fabric. Whoop, there it broke. But I still have it and I can actually pull it and pull it out. I'm creating that channel. You can see the thread missing. Go up here and grab the top. Continue pulling that out. So I've got a really good channel going the full length now. Now I'm going to start on the cross grain. Let me get myself one thread here to start pulling across. There we go. I've got just one. And I'm going to do the same method where I've got this needle in between my fingers and I'm going to gently ease that out. And taking my time. And easing the fabric down. Here we ease that down as we pull that thread out. Easing it. This seems to be going okay, but whenever I try to rush it, that's when the fiber breaks. This is going fine. Pull a little, work that fabric down. See, we've created a pucker. Now we'll work that fabric down and we're creating the channel that we're removing. Oop, there it broke. Now we'll continue on with our fingers and grab that thread and pull that out. Good, we've created a little bit of a channel there. Now, if I need to pull more, I'm going to come back in, and if I can't find that exact thread, I'm going to grab one right next to it. Once you've pulled the length and the cross grain, you're going to start there in the middle. Then you are done. You've labeled it, and you are finished with number 2 fabric Grainline sample. Thanks so much. This is Annette Julie, and I look forward to seeing you in the next sewing and pattern making video.